Hello students, today we are going to start our classes of class 9th physics. Topic of today's class will be laws of motion. Today we are going to start next chapter, that is chapter 3. Part A we are going to start. This is part 1 of chapter 3, that is laws of motion. We all know that we have studied in previous classes that laws of motion were given by scientist Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton has given 3 laws of motion which are named as Law 1, Newton's first law of motion, Newton's second law of motion, and Newton's third law of motion. Newton's first law is also known as law of inertia. And Newton's second and third law are respectively known by its name. So we are going to study laws of motion in this chapter in detail. For studying laws of motion, first of all, we have to study the concept of force. You all might be aware of this term, that is force. We have studied in classes 7th and 8th. So what is force? It is that physical cause which changes the state of rest or state of motion of the body. So what is force? It is that physical cause. It is that physical cause that changes the state of rest or state of motion, we can say shape or size of body. So force is that physical cause which changes the state, shape and size of the body. Force is noted by symbol capital F. Mathematically, force is equal to mass into acceleration. If we are talking about the SI unit, in short we can also write F equals to ma, where m stands for mass and a stands for acceleration. If we are talking about the SI unit of mass is kilogram and the SI unit of acceleration is meter per second square. So overall the SI unit will be kilogram meter per second square, or it is also known as Newton. CGS unit is gram into centimeter per second square, which is also known as dyne. So this is about force. Now in next topic we are going to discuss about the effects of force. We are going to discuss effects of force. So, whenever force is applied on an object, it produces mainly 2 effects. What are the 2 effects? Number 1, it changes the shape and size of body. And another one is, it can change the state of body. It can bring rest things into motion and motion things into rest, whereas it can change the shape and size of the body. For example of this one, it can change the state of the body. Ball lying on ground moves when kicked. We all are playing games. Definitely we might have seen whenever we are kicking the ball with our foot, then the ball starts moving. So previously the ball was in rest and now the ball has turned into motion. So it has changed the state of the body. For shape and size, we can take the example of rubber balls. or rubber piece, we can say, if we are applying force, then it will be changing its dimensions. You can say this is a duster and it is made up of cotton. So if we are applying the force, it has changed its shape, is it? So definitely this is the effect of force. It can change the shape and size of the body, and it can change the state of the body also. Bodies are of two types. What are two types of bodies? Rigid bodies and non-rigid bodies. Rigid bodies are the bodies which does not change its dimensions on applying force. Does not change dimensions even on applying the force. Likewise, you can see this is the wall. If I am applying force, is it changing its dimensions? No. Therefore, these type of bodies will come in the category of rigid bodies. Example, stone, wall, all these will come in the category of rigid bodies. Whereas, non-rigid bodies are the bodies which can change its shape and size even on applying a little amount of force. For example, if we are applying the force, it changes the shape and size. Why it is so? Because in rigid bodies, particles are very near to each other. And if particles are very near, then they will not move from their initial positions. Therefore, rigid bodies are hard and they does not change its dimensions even on applying the force, whereas non-rigid bodies change its dimensions. Further, moving into the next topic in the chapter, now we are going to study about kinds of forces. Force, we have studied its effect. Now we are going to discuss its kinds. So basically, forces are of two types. What are they? Contact forces and non-contact forces. From the name, we can classify that contact forces are the forces which are applied by making physical contact. Here, physical contact is must. Whereas in non-contact, there is no physical contact. So these forces are experienced, that is, contact forces are experienced only when bodies are in touch with each other. They are in physical contact with each other, then only these type of forces work. For example, frictional force. Second example, normal reaction force. Next example, force of tension by string. Next one, force exerted by spring. And the last one is force exerted due to collision of bodies. So let us discuss the examples of frictional force. See, if this is the table, is it? And I have kept this duster on the table, on the wall. So if I am moving the duster in my right position, then the frictional force will be acting to the left. Suppose this is the table and one book is kept. This is book and this is table. If I am applying force from here, then what will happen? This book will start moving over here. It will start sliding over the table. So frictional force will be acting like this, and this book will start moving like this, and frictional force will be acting in opposite direction. Motion will be here and frictional force will be acting opposite to it. Therefore, See, book and table are in contact with each other. Therefore, frictional force will come in the category of contact forces. Second one is normal reaction force. This is my palm. I have kept this piece of duster on the palm. Okay, so the weight of the duster is lying downwards. Is it? Weight of duster is lying downwards, but my hand is providing some or the necessary important force in order to maintain the duster at the same position. So whatever the force is applied by my hand, that is known as normal reaction force. My hand and duster is in contact with each other. Therefore, this type of forces is in physical contact and it will come in the category of contact forces. Force of tension by a string. A force applied to see. Force exerted by a spring, just we can say this is a string. The weight of this box is lying downwards, but tension force is acting upwards. This string and this box is in contact with each other. Therefore, force exerted by string is also a contact force. Next, force exerted by spring. This is one fixed support and this is a spring. Suppose I am pulling this spring towards here. Force is applied like this. So my hand and spring is in contact with each other. Therefore, force exerted by spring will also come in contact forces. Collision force. Collision means just colliding. So suppose this is body A and this is body B. I have applied force. So body A has started moving towards B and B has started moving towards A. This is before collision. And what will happen after collision? When they will strike, so this is A, this is B. When the forces will strike, what will happen? B will exert force on A and A will exert force on B. So, what the changes will occur? A will start moving here and B will start moving here. This was action force and this was reaction force. So, how they have moved apart? After contact only, A and B are in contact with each other. Therefore, collision force is also a contact force. Now, we are going to discuss about non-contact forces. These are 5 types of contact forces, which were normal reaction force, frictional force, force exerted through string, force due to collision, and tension force due to spring. Now, non-contact forces. First non-contact force is gravitational force. Second, electrostatic force. And third one, magnetic force. So, in non-contact forces, there is no physical contact between two bodies. Force experienced even when bodies are not in physical touch with each other. No contact is needed, no physical contact is needed. Therefore, this non-contact force is also known as force at a distance. Even the two bodies will be at distance, but they will be exerting one on the other force. We all are familiar with the gravitational force. Is it? See, let us consider the example of gravitational force. For example, ball thrown upwards. What happens to it? Whenever we are throwing a ball upwards, it reaches to a height and then it come back to its original position. It is attracted back to the surface of the earth due to Earth's gravitational pull. Is it? So is ball and earth in contact with each other? No. But even ball is attracted, therefore it is non-contact force. Electrostatic force, you might have seen, if we are taking a comb, rubbing in our dry hair, then what happens? And if we are bringing that same comb near to small bits of paper, then that small bits of paper get attracted to the comb. Is it? So that type of force is electrostatic force. Comb rubbed in dry hair attracts small bits of paper. Is it? So neither the paper nor the comb, they are not in contact with each other. Therefore, electrostatic force will also come in category of non-contact forces. Magnetic force, we all know that like poles repel and unlike poles attract. If we are bringing two magnets with same pole near to each other, then what will happen? They will repel. They will move apart. And if we are bringing two magnets having opposite poles near to each other, north and south, then they will come in contact. So are the two poles in contact? No. Here also, previously they are not in contact. So gravitational force, electrostatic force and magnetic force come in the category of non-contact forces. Last topic of chapter 3A is general characteristics of non-contact forces. We are going to discuss the general characteristics of non-contact forces. See, gravitational force is always attractive in nature, whereas electrostatic and magnetic force, they can be attractive also and they can be repulsive also. But gravitational force is always attractive. This point is to be remembered. And second thing, whatever the amount of forces acting, or we can say whatever the magnitude of forces acting between two bodies, these are two bodies, and whatever the forces acting between body A and B, it is depending on separation of distance between two bodies. Whatever the distance will be there, it will be depending on it. More will be the distance, less will be the force, and less will be the distance, more will be the force. So this was all about force, its types of forces, contact forces, non-contact forces, types of bodies, rigid bodies, non-rigid bodies. You have to study about effects of force, kinds of forces in detail along with the examples. Prepare part 3A. We will be back soon with part 3B and laws of motion. Thank you and have a nice day.